What is going on, YouTube? My name is Carson Gramling. I am a youth pastor at Potential Church in South Florida. Wanted to just take a moment today to talk about something that comes up so often in our line of work. You know, maybe someone's out there right now and you're like, I'm kind of feeling like maybe ministry is something that I'm thinking about doing. Maybe you've started to serve. Maybe you've been around church your whole life, or maybe church is something brand new for you, but you're feeling like, hey, this is something that I would like to do as a career. I wrote down three key questions that I think can kind of give you confidence and get you maybe prepared for ministry if that's something that you're feeling like maybe is something you'd like to do. Question number one is, have you prayed? Now, I know this seems like super simple, not very complicated, of course, right? I get it, but it's so easy to skip this step, start moving past it, moving on to something, start moving on to, well, how are we going to do this financially? And how are we going to, are we going to move? All these different things, rather than starting with, have you prayed? Have you had a conversation with God? Have you talked to him? Have you asked him, hey, is this what you want for me? Is this the life that you desire for me to have? It's so important that very first thing, before we do anything else, we start with prayer, asking God, what does the future look like? Is this the next step for me? I've often heard that God doesn't necessarily reveal the entire staircase, but he will always show you what that next step is. So question number one, have you prayed? God, is this the next step? Question number two is, are you people focused? Do you enjoy being around people? Do you enjoy spending time, pouring into people and teaching them and hearing from them? This is super important to ask yourself and to find an answer on, right? When it comes to people, that is why we do what we do. It is every decision we make is through the lens of what is going to impact the people, what's the best move for the people. And so if you're not very people focused, if people is not your kind of mission in life, well, then ministry is probably not the right step for you. It's not going to fit with how you operate, because ministry is people focused. If you were to get into sales, for example, in sales, you'll often be told that it is people focused, right? It's about the people. And when you have a product, you're trying to find the people that want that product. Ministry is similar to sales, but here's where it's different. In ministry, you're not necessarily looking for people who want the product, right? There are those people out there that realize, man, I've made some mistakes. I've messed up. I need God in my life. But more often than not, you're trying to convince people who don't think they want the product that they need it. And that's wherein the challenge lies. To give you an example, let's say you have you created this knife and it's the best knife in the world, cuts like butter, and you're selling that knife. Well, as a salesperson, your job is to find Steve, who's in the market for a knife. He's looking for a new knife. Your goal is to make sure that you get your product in front of Steve so that he sees it, he realizes this is what I'm looking for, and he buys it. For us, we're marketing to people who don't believe they want our product. And so, super important. That can create a lot of stress and a lot of pressure. And so it's super important that you ask yourself, am I people focused? Because if not, I have seen time and time again, people who jump into ministry and shortly thereafter realize the burden of the people weighs too heavy. And within 3 years, they find themselves doing something different. So again, question number two, are you people focused? Question number three, our final question, is, what are you currently doing in ministry? It's important for us to understand ministry doesn't necessarily have to be a full-time job. Not everyone's called to do ministry full-time. And if you're not currently leading out at the church you're currently positioned in, Well, then maybe start there. Maybe instead of, starting with this big dream of, man, I want to be in front of thousands and I want to lead this ministry, into the stratosphere. All that stuff is amazing, but start with where you're at. Right there at that church that you go to each and every single weekend. Start leading something, whether it's in the parking lot, whether it's in the youth ministry or the kids ministry, whatever it may be, start leading. Because the great thing about ministry, right? A lot of jobs, you have to commit to the job to realize, do I like this or do I not? What's great about ministry is you can volunteer. You can start kind of seeing the full picture of ministry without having to commit to making that your full-time job. So start serving, start leading, lead a connect group, grow these things and see, is this the right step for me? I believe that if we can ask ourselves these 3 questions, have I prayed? Am I people focused? And what am I currently doing in ministry? I think if we can answer these questions, it will give us confidence as we start to pursue ministry as a full-time career. I hope something that you heard stood out to you, something that helps you as maybe you're starting to work into that path of full-time ministry. It's the greatest thing I've ever done in my entire life. Absolutely love it. But I do think it's important that we answer some key questions before we dive in. I'll see you guys next time.